So there's a shortened link to the slideshow. There will be an attendance form at the end of the session. Right now, it's super easy for me to take attendance with just 3 people, but there will be an attendance form at the end. So be sure that you click that and fill it out. This is just a little bit about me, my contact information. If you do run into a question or something, I may not know the answer, but I can sure try and help you find it. And that's a little bit about me too. I was a high school English teacher for 13 years and then a district tech integration specialist. So I knew about iNow, and a lot of what we've done when we've trained is think about how does this compare to what we used in the past. So I like giving a quick vocabulary lesson because I think all of these terms kind of start running together. First is PowerSchool Professional Learning. That is where you got the link that I screwed up. That's where you're going to go and sign up for stuff. It's been called a lot of different things. The technical name is PowerSchool Professional Learning. I used to call it PowerSchool PD. Any of those will work, but when you're talking about signing up for something, you're technically doing it in the professional learning piece. The PowerSchool SIS, or School Information System, is the big office module or the admin piece of PowerSchool. That's where all student information lives. You as a teacher will be working in the PowerSchool Powerteacher Portal, which is kind of like a mini version of the school information system. Powerteacher Pro is what we're going to be looking at today, which is the gradebook. We'll look at the portal and then we'll look at the gradebook itself. Schoology, you've heard plenty of people talk about Schoology this year. You may be using Schoology. That is a learning management system purchased by PowerSchool. And according to the powers that be, it will be able to sync with the Powerteacher Pro gradebook. And then special programs. Special programs is the special ed or the SETS program. So if you're familiar with SETS, that is what is now going to be called special programs. Gifted 504 special ed, that's where all of that will live. And then Performance Matters. There is an app called Performance Matters. It's mainly used with that professional learning piece to scan attendance. But then Performance Matters is also the analytics piece within PowerSchool. And once you start getting benchmarks and state tests and everything loaded, you will see a big picture analytics of all the students in your district. All right, so I'm going to kind of toggle between this slideshow and a demo server, just showing you the ins and outs. But I first want to show you what the landing page looks like in your Powerteacher Portal. And so you'll have the PowerSchool icon up here at the top. You'll notice that there's a little bit lighter background behind Start Page. So essentially that's what this is a Start Page. Across the top, you have this little box with an arrow. It's kind of a universal symbol of leaving this program going to another one. So if you did have admin rights or access to to special programs, it would live here. And then this is where you will come and take attendance each day. So the most significant thing you'll probably do here is every day you will have an option to either click this chair for single day attendance, the calendar for multi-day attendance, or if you like the snazzy seating chart, you can go here and click there. Any of these options will take you to an attendance screen. If you do PowerSchool Lunch, I haven't heard many districts that are doing this, but those decisions are being made. You may have to do something with lunch counts here. Student information pages are right here with the backpack. Print report, and that's going to be student reports. You can click there and get to various student reports. And then this one is health. Again, not sure how Alabama's going to be handling that, but this may or may not be there when you get your live version of the program. So just going to show you what it looks like live. So here's our landing page. And like I said, when I am ready to take attendance, I can click on any of these icons. So I'm going to click on, we'll go down to beginning pottery. So you may notice that I have these tabs up here across the top. These are essentially the exact same places that you would go if you chose another attendance icon. So you can toggle between these two if you want to, or you can stay in the single day attendance. Something you may notice are these handy dandy little icons. You're going to see these all over PowerSchool. And what I love about these is if I click one, like this medical one, I love that Christopher is allergic to homework. So you've got those kinds of medical alerts. There's diabetic. If I click on one of these that has the scales of justice, that is a discipline alert. There may be fee alert. There may be another custody or parent alert. I'm being told there will be a 504 alert, possibly a special ed alert. I'm not sure what icons you'll see here, but these will be readily available for you as a teacher to click as soon as you have that student. You'll know this important information about them. Now, on my presentation, you'll see that I just put a screenshot of what the attendance piece looks like. And notice it says if all of these are present, don't mark anything and hit submit. So regardless of which page you're on, if the attendance code up here says present, you don't have to do anything. If everybody's here, you hit submit. If everybody is not present, as soon as I click into one of these areas, it will automatically put this code in there. Present means blank. So nothing would happen if it says present. If it says another attendance code, it would change. Okay, so for example, if I click here right now, it's automatically present. If I change this to unexcused absent and I click in there, notice it autofills unexcused absence. But where I said present, it leaves it blank because blank means that the student is present. You have the option to add a comment if you need to add a comment like a tardy or something like that. When you're done, you hit submit. And notice this bubble here turns green. It lets you know you have taken attendance for that class. So I did want to show you what the seating chart attendance looks like. So you will have the opportunity to make a fancy seating chart right here with the seating chart design. Once you've made that seating chart, each of these boxes allows you to take attendance. So I can take attendance with each of these little faces, and if there were pictures uploaded, that would be there too, and submit. And as soon as I've submitted it, I will have a green bubble there too. So you're going to spend most of your time on this Powerteacher Pro portal doing attendance. There are other things that you can do here, and one of those is student information. So I mentioned the backpack icon. So if I click the backpack icon, it will open up a screen that looks like this. It's going to list the current class, and it's going to list all the students on my roster. Once I click a student, I will get a default screen. It's usually going to be quick lookup. And then I can click student screens and I will get this drop down box. So this shows you all the possible student screens that you can see. So demographics would let me see parents, emergency contacts, early warning, meeting attendance, that's your class period attendance. I can print a report for that student. I can see their schedule. I can see what special programs they're a part of. I can submit a discipline or an incident entry. So I have a lot of options to see those students. So the question was asked in our last group, can I see all students in the school? So the answer to that is no. You can only see students that are on your roster. Now, there's a possibility that your admin could have a class of students that you're in charge of, like a club, or if you're coaching those students, and they could possibly appear here. But typically, this means that you might need admin access, and you would log in with another URL, and it would take you to the admin sys. And you would have possibly view only rights to be able to view student grades or whatever you needed to do with those students. But right now I would just click on a student's name. This quick lookup screen is pretty awesome. It allows you to see this kid's schedule, all their grades, absences and tardies. And so this is just a great look. So I can see, hey, they're doing really well in these classes, but not in English survey. So why is that? Or they're doing poorly in all classes, and maybe we could look at why that's happening. Oh, here's another alert, birthday alert. So if it's somebody's birthday, that appears there too, which is kind of cool. When I want to change classes, I just go to another class down here and then pick a different student, and that student pops up. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but this is a high school with a 4-block day and an A-B schedule. So A days and B days, which is why this schedule may look a little strange to you. But that's what, and we show the high school because it's probably the most complicated as far as a schedule is concerned. All right, so other menu pages there on the left is the daily bulletin. So if an administrator creates an announcement or a reminder, you will see that here. You can also access your schedule. It's just going to have your schedule kind of color coded here. Next is staff directory. I'm not really sure what information you will see here, but all the staff will be listed, possibly email, possibly phone numbers. So that's kind of handy. You do have the personalized option, which allows you to do some things here. Again, if your district gives you these abilities, one thing that's unique is that you can choose your default student screen. So where we landed on quick lookup, you may prefer to land on attendance or schedule or whatever. And that's whatever you want to see from your student screens. Then you have reports. Now, when it comes to reports on this particular screen, this is going to include reports for all of your classes. So the whole group, not just one student and not just one class. These reports will be dependent on what your district loads for the kind of reports that you're allowed to print. So it could be an attendance audit, could be mailing labels, contacts report, form letters, who knows. But it will print for everybody. Another one is recommendations. So this is kind of unique. I see this being used in secondary schools where you might need to recommend a student for a course like an honors or an AP, maybe recommend them for Beta Club or National Honor Society, and you would just choose the student. You would say add a recommendation, and then you would say, you know, what course you're recommending for that student. Next up is attendance summary. Now this one puzzles me a little bit because I have never used a program that also talked to human resources program in the financial department. But you may or may not see this, but in our training demo, we have attendance summary, and that is the teacher's attendance. So in a perfect world, this would list your attendance, what type of leave, and information about you, the teacher. All right, so now we are going to jump into Powerteacher Pro. So when I want to go back home, and this is kind of universal in PowerSchool, click the PowerSchool logo. So that takes me back to my start page. Notice I have Powerteacher Pro up here, and then I also have it underneath each class. So I'm just going to click it right up there. So I want to first point out that notice it in Chrome, at least, it opened up Powerteacher Pro and it sort of closed my Powerteacher Portal, or that SIS. That's where I take attendance. You can't take attendance here. So if you want to go back, you can click here under Apps and click Powerteacher Portal, and you'll note that it opens in its own tab. So I'm going to guess a lot of teachers will do this right here. Keep that open for their grade book, and then go here and be able to take attendance, because you're going to have to go between the two of those. All right. So any questions so far, or are we good to go?
Nothing in the chat so far, Brandy.
Okay, so when I land on assignment list. And I know that I've landed on assignment list because this is my grading menu and assignment list is highlighted. Across the top here, I can choose to look at a different class. I can search the class. I can look at different terms or years. So I've got lots of options here. I'm just going to leave it in this particular class. I also have this plus sign at the top. It allows me to add assignments, categories, and emails. Now, in the category situation, you're most likely only going to do that at the very beginning of the year. Some of your categories will be district pushed, and some of them, they may allow you to create your own. The bell will allow you to see any reports that you have pending. And then this is Help Center. The help documents really are pretty helpful. So if you need help, you can go there. And then when you click on your profile, one of the most handy features here is small, medium, large. And I'm just going to be real with you. This makes a difference when you go to score sheet. So that is really, really small. If I move to medium, it's a little easier to read. And if you forgot your glasses, large is even better. So there's a couple of handy features about it being large, mainly these icons, and we'll look at those in just a second. But I'm going to go ahead and take that back to small for now and take us back to that main landing page. All right, so the first thing that I would direct you to do is go and use the settings menu in Powerteacher Pro, and that's down here on the left. You can go through these and figure out most of it's very intuitive. But here you can see that I'm saying I want to show traditional grades. I can decide what I want to see on those grades. If I'm going to use standards, I can check that. So lots of different things that you can check here. I don't know why you would want anything other than last first, but you could do that. One of my favorite features is this right here, add newly enrolled students to the bottom. So having taught high school for 13 years, inevitably there'd be somebody that would come in 2-3 weeks into school. And on my paper grade book, I just have to add them to the bottom. And when I would go and I'd start putting grades in, I would forget that that kid was at the bottom and he's alphabetical here, and it was a hot mess. So I really like that. When I have a new student that's enrolled, it adds a student to the bottom so they're not alphabetized, and it's similar to the way I'm going to record it in my records. All right, so that's display settings. Other settings, there's class descriptions. So you actually can give your class its own custom name, and it doesn't really mess with transcript or how it appears, but you can name your class. Comment bank. So I really like this feature because there are going to be district comments that are pushed out by your district, and you can favorite some of those that you use very often. But then also you can create your own comments just by clicking add, and you can give it a code. And this one could be runs in class too often. Not really sure why they would run in class, but there you go. I'm going to click save. So there it is. And so I can use that as a favorite. So that is my comment bank. Class grade scales. This is probably going to be pushed out by your district, and that'll be the same for everybody. Student grade scales. So this is a unique situation. If you happen to have a student who is profoundly disabled and has a specific grade scale that they can only have, like a pass fail, or an EL student that can only have a certain grade scale, just that student, you can actually go here and you can add a student grade scale. And I would just click it. I would select the grade scale and I would save. This is a big deal to change this, so you only want to do it through the direction of your counselor and your administrator. So student grade scales. And then here for standards and traditional. Now I'm going to stick with traditional. We had this discussion earlier. I'm really not as familiar with the standard grades, so I haven't done a lot here, but we're going to look at traditional. And I wanted to point out something when it comes to these grade scales. So can teachers do total points, weight grades, etc.? My answer is maybe. So it's going to depend on your district. If your district gives you that freedom, this is where you would go and set all of that information. You would do this once at the beginning of the year. And so here's just a screenshot of what it would look like if you chose to do like category weighting. But then you also have the option to do total points. And so here's the beginning pottery class. So this class, I'm going to use a total point system. And when I click the pencil, you can see what it looks like. Total points, the weight is 1 and percentage is 100. I have the option to choose to drop the lowest score, and I can do that for that class. Now, if I want to copy this, this gear is going to be your friend. It's going to look different on every page. So click the gear to see what settings are available for that page. This particular one allows me to copy those calculations. So if I want to copy those terms to another class, now I can pick what the other class is. Well, I want it to go to beginning pottery 2, and I want it to be first semester, and I want it to be beginning pottery 3 and this one. And so once I'm done, I would validate that and go, yep, that's exactly what I want it to look like, and copy. And now all of the classes have what I need them to have. So that one is a total points. This one is a category weighting system. So I would simply click the pencil. And on this one, I, instead of total points, chose category weighting. These are the current categories. If I needed to add other categories, I would need to do that before I got here. But let's imagine these are the categories pushed out by the district, and I have to use these 4. And so don't let it throw you because the default is 1. You just put what percentage you want this to be. And when you move from one place to the other, it changes. So for example, if I wanted this one to be 10, when I move here, it does the math for me. So I don't have to do the math. I'm like, this is hard. I don't want to deal with the math. Once I go in there and adjust it, it does it all for me. So anyway, I can, again, copy that to the other biology classes as well. So that's good news. And you only have to do that once. Like I said before, you have assignment categories that you can create. You can also edit them. It's also going to allow you to change the order. So if you want the very first one, the default one, to always be classwork, you can do that, or you can use these arrows to move it up or down. I don't know that I mentioned this in the last group, so I do want to quickly talk about this. So if we go into categories, okay, and that's where I went here under grading. I went to categories to access these. If I go to the pencil, I can go in here and set some assignment defaults. Now this is very handy because if I'm going to be doing a lot of classwork, maybe I want the points, the default points, to always be 20. Now I can go into individual assignment and change that, but I like the fact that I can adjust that. If I want to make it always be points, and I definitely want to leave this checked, count in traditional final grade. And so this would be my default. So every time I choose this category, it would default to 20 points. So that's kind of a handy feature, and you can adjust that within your categories. All right, so we're going to look at creating assignments. It's pretty straightforward. Use that same plus sign at the top. You can add information, categories, and you can duplicate these assignments. You can also use the copy command here. So take note that you have 4 tabs in this assignment creation. So you don't ever have to touch these 3. If you just want to quickly create the assignment, you can. But there are some handy features here. So I'm going to click plus, and I'm going to add an assignment. So it tells me that I'm currently in my beginning pottery class. But let's say that I'm going to want to create this also for beginning pottery in 2nd and 3rd period classes. Okay, so I've checked those. Now I've got to give it an assignment name. I'm going to call this project. Category, it's a project. I can give the due date per class. I'm going to leave it as Friday, but if I wanted to, maybe have one class that's further ahead than another one, I can do a different due date. And then I have my score types here where I can adjust this, and this would all be set by default if I wanted to do that in the defaults. And like I said before, you're almost never going to uncheck count in traditional final grade because you definitely want that to count. You can click save and close, but here is a really unique feature. Students. So if I say show all, I can actually assign this to a particular group of students. So I think this is pretty handy if I'm doing, if I am adapting a project for students that have IEPs or an EL student, I could just assign this assignment to these groups, the adapted assignment, and then I could assign another one to my traditional students. So I love that. Standards is where it allows me to go in and check what standards are going to be assessed in this assignment. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you some information that I found out just recently. So Schoology will sync with Powerteacher Pro if your school is using Schoology. What we found out will not currently sync is if you have taken the time to go in and put your standards and align your standards in Schoology, that does not currently come over in Powerteacher Pro. So you would have to go to the assignments and adjust those, but I'm being told that will happen in the near future. So just a FYI. And then I have the option to publish. Now, this is another handy feature. So as many years as I taught high school English and I would give a paper, a long-term paper, I might sit down on a Sunday afternoon and create several assignments. And as soon as they went live in the parent portal, you'd have some parent that says, why does my kid not have a grade in this? So you can actually choose to not publish this assignment until the due date, or you can choose a particular date or never. So I think that's pretty handy because it gives you a little cushion of time before those grades, before the assignment goes live and before the grades are there and they're public. Oh, look, there is a, you forgot to do this. I think I did this on the last one as well. So it's, the training server is kind of wonky. It doesn't love something about those dates. There we go.
Hey, Brandy, that happens to me every time too.
It
So
does. I think it's just a glitch in the matrix. We'll go with that. All right. So, so yeah, I think that is a really nice feature when it comes to assignments. So score sheets, and I showed you that briefly a second ago. I call this the most visual way to grade assignments, or your visual grade book. And that is found under grading. It's the second one down. So we landed on assignment list, which is just a list of assignments. If I go to score sheet, this is going to show me kind of a bigger view. Notice I can do some filtering here. So if I just wanted to see this week, I could hit that apply there. And so I could really narrow down information. So here's something interesting. So I've got it at small so I can see more weeks or more days. Notice these colored squares. So if you go and you go to medium or even large, we'll go ahead and look at large. You'll notice that those aren't just colored squares. They're actually little emblems, little icons. So the way grading works, it's very simple, is if I need to put a grade in for a student, I click that square. So now you can see what each of these colored icons mean. They are associated over here with this little grading calculator. If an assignment is missing, I can indicate it. If I want to leave a comment, I can indicate that here. Notice it says this one is incomplete. I'm going to tell you, as a teacher, these would have been very handy to put in when a student is absent or something is incomplete, or this means exempt. So I love that. You can even use this one, which is collected. So you collected the assignment, but there's no grade there. So all those I think are super handy. And just to show you on the presentation, I've got kind of a screenshot here of what each of these things, these little colored squares, they are relative to these icons, and then you can add your grades. Also, you can toggle between students or between assignments here. And then you have the handy dandy fill button. So if you need to fill the whole column down with 20 points, because everybody did it, you can do that. Or if you need to fill across, a student's been absent and you need to fill 20s across for something that they completed, you can do that as well. So you can look at the traditional grades, category totals. You can look at all terms. Under traditional or standard, whichever you're using, you would go and click the final grade status button when you are at the end of the term. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. We're going to look at traditional. So this is my traditional grade book. We're finished for the term. I would click final grade status, and I would let my principal know final grades are complete, and I would click save. I have a check mark there, and my grades are ready to go. And so you don't want to forget that you can do that, and you can also, I believe, validate your comments in that same area. So kind of wrapping things up, you have information and snapshots of students' progress and demographics over on some of these other areas on the left. Okay, so we focus mostly on grading, and here are all the different things you can do in the grading area. Category totals. I like this because I can see why a kid is not doing well. Maybe they hadn't done well on tests. I can verify any comments that I need to put there. And then I can also look at all reporting terms for a student. The next tab down is students. So we already saw within the Powerteacher Portal where you can look at specific student information. But here I can choose any student, and it's going to pull up information specific to that student. And I can go, because right now Fabian Brown is who I've selected, I can see demographics here without having to go out and look in the Powerteacher Portal. So I can access several bits of information about the student, including that quick lookup screen right here in Powerteacher Pro. The progress page, I think, is going to be really unique as the year progresses. You're going to start seeing your kind of grade allocation. So here, if I click view all, it actually breaks it down by student. What a way for us to see how our students are doing and to quickly see the students that are at risk of failing in the class. And so it takes it and shows you the grade distribution of each of the terms. So I think that's pretty handy. Reports, this is going to vary based on what your school or your system is allowing teachers to have access to. So you have individual student reports, multifunction assignment report. I think that's probably going to be progress report. Score sheet report, student roster, and then your report queue is going to show any reports you have pending. I've had some problems running reports in the training server and getting them to look right, so I'm not going to really use these reports, but you can see here is where you get to be much more granular with your reporting. You can choose exactly what you want to see, what categories, even specifically what students that you want to see in those reports. All right, that is it. I do have an attendance form, so we're going to put that in the chat box, and then I will open it up for any questions that you might have.